Well, here we are Sunday, and I went to Publix and Walmart to grab some stuff. This is my lunch. It's Romney noodles, and I put spices on it: cilantro, red onions, jalapenos, and then I added some cheese to it, and I put little beef bits into it, crackers, almond joy, and a Pepsi. And here's what it came out looking like. It tasted pretty good. Wasn't too bad. You know, it's that Romney stuff that you used to have in college when you were struggling to pay for college and having to work 2, 3 jobs just to pay your bills and buy your books and everything. Well, this was the cheapest way to have lunch. These were like 17 cents a pack. Uh, Here is an interesting little boat. It's a yacht that was built in 1927, according to the lady. Uh, this is the sister ship of another boat that was built for the president. Uh, I don't know who the president was then, but they built another one just like this. And this is the sister ship. This one here belonged to the daughter of the guy that started up Woolworth, the stores. Uh, she owns the majority of the boat, and then she has some partners that still own part of the boat here. And what they do is one of the partners gives an incentive to their sales reps to get a trip on this boat. I guess the top salesperson or whatever gets to go from different. I didn't ask them, what kind of job or anything they did, but she mentioned to me that they were the top salesmen, so they got to enjoy a cruise on the boat itself. Very beautiful boat. A lot of work goes into maintaining this boat. A lot of tiki wood on there, as you can see. And when you build something, like this, you have to have a crew. Now here's another interesting ship that came in on Sunday. I noticed the name on it as it was coming in, and I realized I've seen this ship before. Couldn't remember where I had seen it, but the more I started looking at it, I realized that it's called the Odyssey. The Odyssey is a research vessel that can be hired for, let's say, somebody in the marine research industry, and this boat is fully equipped to handle all of it. But there's a very interesting story, and I'll get back to that later on here on the ship. This is just to happen to see some ducklings running around, and they had little chicks with them too. So I thought, well, I guess I could film that and do a wildlife series on my tape. So here it is. Everything you want to know about wildlife and the little ducklings. Well, we were also not supposed to get any rain, but we did. So that kind of shot my day today. But anyway, about the Odyssey. The Odyssey was a ship that was used for research. It also happened to be the ship that found a Spanish galleon that was full of gold. And it was not in U.S. waters. Here's my lunch for today: salad, chili, crackers, pudding cup, and queso for my chili. But anyway, this vessel, the Odyssey, had found a ship, a sunken ship. Turned out it was a Spanish ship full of gold and silver and jewelry and all kinds of stuff. They were bringing those 5-gallon paint buckets up full of silver and gold. and they brought up an enormous amount. They said something in the reference of 100, 150 of these buckets full of gold and silver and jewelry. Because the boat was in international waters, the U.S. really had no say-so as to what happens to this. I took pictures of the bathroom here so you could kind of see it, but I want to get back to the ship. So the Spanish government sued the owners of the Odyssey, and they were claiming that because it was a Spanish ship, the silver and gold belonged to them. So they took them to court, and they fought. I think it was something like 5, 6, 7 years. They fought it in court. Originally, the owners of the Odyssey were willing to give Spain 25% of whatever they were bringing up. But I guess Spain didn't want that. They wanted everything. So in the lawsuit, they claimed that because it was a Spanish ship, it belonged to Spain, and they wanted all the gold and all the silver, everything that they were getting out of it. Well, the court ended up going in the favor of the owners of the ship, because they said had they not found the ship and had they not spent all the money to recover all this money, Spain wouldn't have had anything from it, not one penny out of it. And the court said that they were only allowed to get 10% of what was taken out. Well, it turns out that the people from the Odyssey still gave Spain 25% of the gold and everything that was brought up, mainly so that they could, I guess, put it in a museum or something, and they could see, people can actually see the gold and silver that was on board that ship. Here I am taking off in the morning. It's Monday morning, and I've decided to go ahead and take off and head for Georgia. If you look at, I was looking at these huge ships as they were coming in. I noticed, this white one right here, the dinghy itself, which is right on the side of the boat right now. That dinghy is bigger than my boat, and that's what they're using as their dinghy. Also on the Odyssey, on the very top of the Odyssey, they also have another dinghy that they're using, and that dinghy was also bigger than my boat. So it was pretty funny that these guys, I guess if you've got money you can have whatever you want, but that dinghy that they're using right there for that big boat there is worth probably $100,000 to $150,000, and they're using it as a dinghy. But anyway, I went ahead and I had to drop off an adapter that the dock master let me use, so I could plug into electricity and charge my batteries up and everything. So I just kind of swung by the docks, the fuel docks, and dropped off the adapter. And then the guy went ahead and gave me a shove and shoved me off, and I took off. It was pretty uneventful. The day was great. The water was nice and smooth, and the winds were nothing really to say about. So I was cruising along, actually doing better time than I had the whole trip, mainly because the wind was good and the current was not strong, so I didn't have to fight the current or the wind. So all in all, I had a great day. I did notice that when I left Florida and I went into Georgia, that there was some huge flies. I call them horse flies. These things were huge, and there were tons of them all over in Florida. In Georgia. When I crossed into Georgia, I went into a lot of marshlands and a lot of uninhabited areas, and I guess these things grow. I took pictures of them, and you'll see them here later on today. But they were followed me everywhere I went. All day long. They were just everywhere. I had to shut down everything. I had to shut down my windows, and to shut my back door because they were coming in. They were bothering, and they sting. I mean, it looks like I guess they bite you. I guess I don't know, but they really. I could feel them on my legs when I had one on the legs, and they're very easy to kill because once they attach to you, they don't want to let go. So I was able to get one of my hats, and just swipe them and kill them. I didn't completely kill them. They were dazed a little bit, but what I would do is I would grab them and throw them out the window and use that for fish bait. One of them will finally find it moving around and snatch it for a meal. But everything else was pretty much uneventful. My plan was to get out of Georgia. I didn't know how far I was going to go. Basically, just run till I needed to pick up some more fuel. I made the mistake of not filling up both tanks when I left. I could have filled both of them up, but what I do is I fill one and I run it and see how far I get with it. Then I calculate how far I've gotten and get an average of how many miles I get per tank. So I didn't fill up the one that was already used. Then I took off with it. As I got past Georgia, and after about 4 or 5 hours, the one tank, or I should say after about an hour and a half, the one tank that was not full ran out of fuel, so I switched over to the full tank and started running there. And the more I looked, I kept noticing that I was out in the marshlands. There was nothing out there. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder if I'm going to have enough fuel to get to a major city somewhere where I can fuel up again. So I started looking on my map, and I knew I saw a couple of places where I could get fuel, but I had to get off the intercoastal. But I didn't really want to do that because when they keep track of the intercoastal pretty good. When it needs dredging, they dredge it. Because there's so many boats going up and down the intercoastal, they have to keep it dredged to make sure that boats don't run aground. But when you get off the intercoastal, it's different. Now it's up to the state to see, to upkeep and keep dredging where it needs to be dredged, and they don't always keep up with it. So I went off the intercoastal and I started going down this small little river where there was apparently a marina down there where I could pick up fuel. And as I was running, I noticed on my depth finder that I was in about 12 feet of water. I wasn't paying attention to it. And then all of a sudden, I hear my alarm go off, and I look down and I hit a sandbar. Even though my depth finder was saying I was in 12 feet of water, I wasn't in 12 feet of water. I run aground. And the good thing is that here's some flies I was telling you about. You can see they're flying all over the place, and I'm taking pictures of them through the window. But there were tons of them. And there's a picture of one of them there. And they're huge. They're not regular little flies. They look like horse flies to me. And they were all over the place. All over the
Okay,
boat.
that was the end of the day.
If I hadn't closed down all the windows and everything,
and now
I would have had them all over.
waiting for tomorrow. We'll see you all later. Thank you.